Thanks to the support as a channel member, Rob Harley. I don't want to alarm anybody, but we are currently running at a net transfer profit during my time at Liverpool. Net transfer profit of over £100 million. And I have signed some players as well. Hello and welcome to Club 6, Part 2 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we are going to be having a look at the summer transfers so far. We've made it through to the 12th of August. There's still a couple of weeks of transfer window left, and there'll definitely be some more spending because, as you can see, we've still got over £100 million worth of transfer budget to go through. We're also going to play our first league game in charge of Liverpool at home against Arsenal. You can see we've already played. We're having to play qualifying rounds to get into the Conference League. I don't understand what. I mean, frankly, we should just not bother, but we did win 8-0 in the first leg of our first qualifying round. I'm not going to show you the second one, but we are going to be having a look at what we've been doing transfer-wise. You can see there's still a lot going on. The first thing we did actually was fix the off-the-pitch stuff. I didn't even have an assistant manager. We now have an assistant manager. Where is he? It is this guy who didn't want to give up his job as under-21's performance analyst. So he is assistant manager of the first team and under-21's performance analyst. Not even under-21's head performance analyst. He has a boss in the under-21's setup. But he's also it's a weird thing. Liverpool's a strange club. There's lots of people doing these double duty jobs. As you can see, we've got a coach. So this guy, Peter Krawietz, is a coach. So he's below Ray Sherwood in the first team coaching setup. But he is the head performance analyst at the entire club. So he's obviously above Ray when it comes to performance analysis. It's a complicated setup at Liverpool. I don't understand what's going on. But transfers-wise, we've done quite a lot of shifting players out of the club. As you can see, we've sold £176 million of a player. A few of these left before I arrived, but we started off with... In fact, what we started off with was Trent retiring. Wasn't ready for that. Yesterday's episode, I was all planning to play him potentially in central midfield, maybe at right back. No, he just retired after about 3 days. So Trent Alexander-Arnold has retired. He's not a coach. He is just done. He's not in the database anymore. So he left first. We then sold Vitinha to Real Madrid. He wanted to go and play Champions League football, so he can go and play Champions League football. He's 35 years old. I had no reason to want to try and keep him. And then there's a lot of these young players have gone out on loan. We've shifted a few out to various places, just players that we were just never going to use, didn't need. We sold Florian Wirtz for £7 million. He's gone to play in Qatar. He was just a fringe player we were never going to use. You can see he's already started to drop out of the team last year, only 8 starts last season. Another one who's just old, 32. I mean, I know that's not old, but he was already drifting down the pecking order. He's not the kind of player I want to be using, so we've moved him on. We've also sold Noel Aseko Nkili, who's gone to Gladbach for £44.5 million. We weren't necessarily looking to sell him, but they came in with a big offer for a 29-year-old that resulted in a transfer profit for a player who only started 12 games last year, and it seemed too good to turn down. And they were the main sales we've done. Like I say, the big one, a lot of the big ones happened before I even arrived. This guy, the centre-back, he went to Chelsea just before I arrived for £51 million. Although, to be fair, he was on loan there last season as well. So that's a pretty good piece of business. With that money, so far we've signed 2 players. I know a lot of you wanted me to go out and sign Bilger. Bilger is just not an option financially for Liverpool. We can't come anywhere near that kind of price range for him. Juventus have got absolutely no incentive to sell him, so he isn't going anywhere. We've got him locked down nicely at Juventus. So we've tried to repeat the process. Go and get another one who's just like him. Tiago Borges is a 20-year-old Portuguese international right winger, more of a right winger than a striker. Bilger definitely more of a striker, but this allows us to play Diallo up front. He's only 5'4" as well, but if you do a comparison between him and Bilger, he's obviously not at the same level. Bilger is a generational talent, future Ballon d'Or player, etc., etc., etc. But he's like a mini Bilger for a fraction of the price that Bilger would have cost. So To me, that works. He's still lightning quick. He's a little bit behind Bilger on everything else, but what can you do? We have to work with what we can afford. We could afford this guy. We couldn't afford Bilger. And then we've reunited with somebody we signed for Barcelona, Leonardo Antunes, 21-year-old defender, 6'4". You might remember me bringing him in at Barcelona and then not really using him and moving on. We loaned him out to Hamburg, and I don't think we ever actually saw him play for Barcelona. But he's been floating around the first team there for the last couple of seasons. Meanwhile, he's gone and got 9 caps for Brazil. And did I mention he's 6'4"? To be able to pick him up for less than £30 million seems like a bargain. We needed a defender, so he comes in as another defender for us. And that's it so far. Like I say, we've still got £100 million to spend. There's still plenty of spare wage budget. And there are definitely areas that we need to strengthen. At the moment, we're on a first team squad of 20 players. So there's at least probably 3 new players we need to bring in. We've still got players who are looking to leave. Blanco is the chief among the looking to leave club, but Bellingham and Aspas also want out as well. Aspas, by the way, as soon as he asked to leave, we had to agree a much lower price. This is the annoying thing about not being able to sign Bilger. We had Aspas, who had a similar price range to Bilger when I arrived, but he's decided he wants to leave. He's got an absolute hissy fit on, and we've had to agree a price of 103 million to let him go. Now, I'd still be delighted to get 103 million for him. It gets that enormous wage off the wage bill for a player I don't know that I'm going to be starting week in, week out, because I want to play Jallo up front. So I'm happy to let him go for that price, but why do we have to let him go for 100 million, whereas Juventus can dig their heels in and say 300 million for Bilger? It's annoying. Stupid football manager. But those 3 are still here at the moment, and our squad is looking a little bare in places. Obviously, we've got Blanco, but Blanco's got a grumpy on. If Blanco does leave, I'm not devastated at playing Fulani in goal. He's been our backup goalkeeper for a few years. I think he could probably do a job in the short term. We could maybe go and revisit some of our former goalkeepers if need be. So I'm not desperately looking for a goalkeeper. And I think Blanco will stay. I don't think anyone's going to pay enough money to tempt us into selling him. We do need a right back, though. We don't really have a right back. We've got Corgi, who is a left-footed centre-back who can play there. Pereira, who's a left-back. This youngster, George Wilson, is probably the closest we've got to a right back. 20 years old, come through the youth system. Is he a centre-back? Is he a winger? Is he a wing-back? Sorry. I mean, he's probably more of a centre-back. He's probably going to get more game time at right-back initially. I think we probably do need to go and get a right-back. Now we've got the new boy, and what's his name? Antunes? Yeah, Antunes. Now Antunes is in. I think we're fine for centre-back. Corgi, Peralta, Raimon. Annoyingly, we've got a Raimon and a Raymon in our team, which is not going to confuse me at all. But I think we're fine at centre-back, and we're obviously very good at left-back with Peralta and Pereira, both as options, and Antunes can play out there as well if need be. Once we get into midfield, Bellingham is obviously the best in all the midfield roles, and then we just got to fit 2 other players around him. At the moment, he's probably most likely to play as the deep-lying playmaker because we don't really have anyone else who can play there. There's an argument we could maybe do a 4-2-3-1 and push Bellingham further forward even, or push one of these other guys like Ramon could play further forward with Bellingham in a midfield too, but if we play him in a midfield too, he's also going to be playing deep line playmaker on defence. So we may as well do this system. He's a little bit older, get less running out of him, just let him control the game from the base of the midfield. I'm sure it'll be fine. Harvey Elliott can still play in that central midfield as well. We could probably do with one more because Elvis Gabriel's a centre-back, Lualua's a striker. We don't have much depth in central midfield, so we're probably looking for somebody there as well. And then I think the attack is fine if they all stay. Diallo, I think, is going to be my striker. At least once Aspas goes, I think he has got everything he needs to be able to be a striker for me, which then allows the new boy, Borgia, to play on the right-hand side. Elliott can also still play out there as well. And obviously, in the meantime, Diallo can play there and Aspas can continue playing up front until we sell him. And then on the left-hand side, we've got Kone. Elliott can play out there. I think we're probably fine. The front 3, I think, is probably okay. If we sell Aspas, we probably need another body who can cover maybe striker on one of the wings. But on the whole, I think the attack is fine. Centre-back, left-back is fine. Goalkeeper, I think, will be fine. So we're really looking for at least one more midfielder and a right-back, which I think is what we said at the start of the window. And then I went out and signed a winger and a centre-back. So You know me, boys and girls. This is the team for the first match of the season, or the first league match of the season against Arsenal. We've got Blanco in goal, a back four of Peralta, Corgi, Antunes, and Pereira. We've got an even more extreme version of the problem, by the way, that we had at Juventus, where we had two left-sided centre-backs. That entire back four are all left-footed. We do need a right-footed defender of some flavour at some point. But for now, an entirely left-footed back four is fine. Bellingham at the base of the midfield, Elliott and Ramon ahead of him, and then Kone on the left, Diallo on the right for today, although we might end up sticking him up front even before the game is done, and Aspas is going to get the opportunity to prove himself up front, but Borges is waiting in the wings, ready to come in. We can't even fill a bench at the moment because our squad is so small. There is still very much work to do. There will be more transfers tomorrow, or this spell at Liverpool is not going to end very well for us. Remember, we're here. We're not just here to manage Liverpool. We're here specifically to tick off winning the Premier League, something we haven't done in this year's non-league to legend. And Jude Bellingham's given away a penalty inside the first 5 minutes. Not a defensive player, clearly. He's supposed to be our best player, and he's gone and done a silly old thing like that. This is where we're gonna have a first look at how good Blanco still is. Blanco didn't actually play in the cup game previously, the Europa League, the Conference League game. So I wanted to have a look at this backup goalkeeper. So this is Blanco's first time playing for me since the Preston days, and he doesn't save the penalty. He looks so small compared to what I'm used to from goalkeepers. This is the reason we went and got Dennis Simon way back when we were at Preston. Blanco was fine, and obviously when we first signed him, he was our only option. That's why we were playing an 18-year-old as a newly promoted Premier League teams. We didn't have anybody else. But he's only 6 foot tall, and that I was never completely happy with that. That's why we got Dennis Simon. So if someone wants to offer me big money for Blanco, I'm not against selling him. And there is Antunes making an immediate impact. This is why you go and get a 6'4" centre-back, boys and girls. It doesn't matter if they can defend. You're going to get so many goals over the course of the season from exactly that. Boom. We're not going to need to go and get Valente this time because we've got his regen. Antunes is a little bit younger, a little bit cheaper, and very similar. Just a big, lanky 6'4", not great defender, but will score 15 goals a season for us. And that makes up for the fact he can't really defend. Bellingham is the one chasing back and struggling to get level with the opposition player once again there. I talked about potentially buying a midfielder. Maybe that midfielder we need to buy is a defensive midfielder. Maybe we could even go and have a look at Juventus, who have quite the selection of defensive midfielders. I'm looking at Taglioli, Boatini, Firi. There's like three options. I mean, we could even go and get, what's his face, the right back who can play defensive midfield, and he covers both options. Agostini, that was his name, wasn't it? Carmine Agostini. We could go get him. I mean, we can't because he's similar to Bilger. He would be unaffordable. But one of those 3 defensive midfield options, we probably could pick up for 30 or 40 million, and it allows Bellingham to play further forward while someone like that tucks in behind him. So that might be something to consider. I don't necessarily want to fill this Liverpool team up with Juventus rejects because Juventus kept failing in the Champions League, but Liverpool kind of have a better track record in the Champions League than Juventus anyway. So just moving the same players to putting them in Liverpool shirts will probably lead to them performing a little bit better in Europe. This has been very poor defensively from us so far. It's interesting to see an Arsenal team 15 years in the future that still has Martinelli and Saka tearing everybody apart, and they're certainly tearing us apart at the moment and demonstrating the fact that we are a little weak at fullback, certainly right back. Theoretically, our left back Peralta is the best in the league, but hasn't had a great game today. But Pereira at right back is very much our backup left back and was our backup left back at Barcelona as well. So he's not really somebody I want in the team as my starting right back. So that is a matter of urgency. Go find a right back or play the youngster. The youngster could play out there, do a Jamie Carragher, break into the team at fullback and then properly establish himself and become a centre-back for years to come. Maybe that's the solution for him. Diallo then, on the right-hand side. Let's see what he's got to offer in the wide areas. He played centre-forward in the Conference League game and was great. Elliott from range, and it goes just wide. We're not playing great so far. This hasn't been what I was hoping for in my first league match in charge of Liverpool. And I'm sure it's probably not what the Liverpool fans are looking for either. They've seen me sell half a dozen players and not really replace them yet. We've got a young Brazilian centre-back who, to be fair, has scored, and then an attacker who sat on the bench. And other than that, it is the same Liverpool team that finished 8th in the Premier League last year, remember. This is a team that was very much in need of a rebuild, and we've kicked off the season, and the rebuild hasn't really happened yet. So hopefully they're going to be patient with me. I've got a good track record. It'll be fine. Right, we're going attacking. We're going to have to demand more. We can't lose our first game at Anfield. That doesn't bode well for my future career as Liverpool manager. Diallo on the right-hand side. He needs to conjure something up for us from this right wing, and he's dispossessed by Martinelli, and Elliott is there to clean up the mess. And Antunes across to Corgi. That's all we really want from Antunes. Get rid of the ball. Give it to Corgi, who's much better on the ball than Antunes is. And he's just there to head the ball away and then head the ball into the goal at the other end of the pitch. Corgi doing his little bit of share of heading there, gives it to Bellingham, who I think Bellingham is being wasted playing this deep. And now Ramon plays it across to Kone, who's in acres of space, and Kone scores. And it's 2-2, and that was a good goal. I mean, to be fair, I said Bellingham's wasted deep. It did all stem from Bellingham playing that forward to who's he played it forward to? Ramon. Oh, no, it was Kone who played it forward to Ramon, actually. So Bellingham not involved. And then Ramon plays it back to Kone. I realise he might be Raymond as well, but we've got a Raymond at the back. So he's Ramon. I mean, it's got an accent. It might even be Ramon. Maybe I'm learning to say names. Maybe this is the start of a new era for me, pronouncing names correctly. It's probably not. Kone with a very tempting cross. And why is Aspas not on the end of that? That's literally what Aspas is for. He is a striker, a proper out-and-out striker. And he was nowhere near that cross. Vlahovic scores there. Oh, that was frustrating. £425,000 a week Aspas is earning. And this is the same frustration we had with him at Barcelona. When he's on form, he's brilliant. It takes him a long time to get on form. And there's another demonstration of it. I remember from Barcelona, he needs like 6 or 7 games to get up to speed. And then he plays himself into form and he's great. But you can't take him out of the team during those 6 or 7 games or the clock starts again. That's why we lost patience and went with Sakuna in the end. And there's Antunes again. Oh, he is a threat. And I guarantee, despite how much of a threat he already is proving to be, because I've not clicked the play for set pieces button, the board will be like, you're not really doing your set pieces, are you? I've signed a guy literally for doing this. And it's led to 2 goals today. But no, we're not maximising set pieces at all. But that's Antunes again, just being a big boy and dominating at that far post from corners. And we are now 3-2 up. So I think that is probably the time to drop back to positive. I've just realised we've not made any substitutions. We are going to take off Antunes, who is tiring. Raymond can come on for him. Who is he right? He's a left footer as well. Oh, God, they're all left footed. We need a right footer. We're going to bring on Borges so you can have a little look at him. And who else? I mean, we haven't got loads of options on the bench. Filipov. Weirdly, is a natural defensive midfielder and attacking midfielder, but not central midfielder. That's a weird one. We're going to take off Ramon. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to take off Harvey Elliott and bring on Filipov and push Bellingham into that box-to-box midfield role, and Filipov can sit deeper. I'm not making loads of substitutions because we don't have loads of options off the bench. We are desperately in need of players. We need another 3 or 4 signings before tomorrow's episode. But I guess, encouragingly, the first 11's quite good because, I mean, we've laboured a little bit, but it's looking like we're picking up 3 points against a pretty strong Arsenal team. So that's got to be a positive, right? Filipov nods it down to Bellingham, and now Borges. First look at him on the right-hand side, all 5'4" of him. When he shouldn't really play on the far side, he looks even smaller. We need to always play him on the near side. Ramon plays it over the top for Borges, who's about as far away as he can possibly get. It's a miniature footballer. Plays it into Jude Bellingham. There is Aspas, and there's a goal for Aspas. Suspicion maybe of offside. The referee has his finger in his ear. This might be disallowed. But if Aspas has managed to get himself a goal, that is a good step towards him. No, dragging himself into form. No, of course he was offside. Oh, what a frustrating man he is. And he's on so much money. No one's going to pay his salary. I don't think there's a club in world football that we're going to be able to convince to give us more than 100 million for him and then pay him £500,000 a week. He is no Erling Haaland. He is on a very good thing here at Liverpool. That explains why when we tried to sign him to Juventus, he decided to come here instead, because we were never competing with this kind of money. And now we've got to deal with that problem of him just being stuck here for the length of his contract, and no one's going to want to get rid of, no one's going to want to take him from us. But that will conclude today's episode, boys and girls. A strong start for us in the Premier League. If we look at the season preview, you can see Arsenal are favourites for Champions League. We're right up there as well. But obviously we had a very poor season last year. But promising start. I now need to crack on with doing some more transfers. And then we will be back tomorrow, probably right at the end of the transfer window, so I can show you what I've bought and maybe beat Tottenham. Would be quite nice. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.